what we're going to present to you today is how you work with some of these principles of positive thinking. So, as you can see, it's a must for a clear mind and a happy life. So we're going to be just looking at what is, seriously what is positive and what is negative. So it's not just nicey nice, but a little bit deeper than that. Thinking, first of all, we have to look at what is thinking, and it really determines how you experience your life. So you see these little vignettes about how you use your thinking to be by yourself, to be amazed, to say hello, to smile, to get out there, to not do certain things, to cool out, to communicate, to show yourself. Thinking comes in so many different forms. Now, if you do have the power of positive thinking, some of the things that will be there with you is, first of all, that you can face whatever comes. If you have the power to face whatever comes, you're ahead right there. You can stay light and easy, don't have to be heavy. No worries. Can you imagine life without worry? No confusion. You're really clear inside. You take benefit, you take advantage, personal advantage from all the scenes. We consider this world as a big movie with all sorts of scenes in it. And some of them negative, some of them positive. But if you know how to take benefit from them, then they're actually all positive for you. And you will love life, and you will love people. After all, what are people? They're your brothers and sisters, they're your family. So what is thinking? Further, what is thinking? Your mind is a factory for ideas. And thinking is also about communication and contact through the mind. It is reminders, you have to remember. It's also about attitudes and feelings. So I don't know if you've ever seen a human mind. Probably not, right? What is a mind? Don't really know, huh? Everybody has one. Sometimes you say somebody's out of their mind. Sometimes you say, oh, I have some problems on my mind. Sometimes you say, I have a free mind, I have a busy mind. Is it a thing? Or is it perhaps a power? The power to think, the power to feel, the power to recall. And we want to look at the mind, because everything that you experience as an individual, you experience it in your mind. And everything you do, everything you say, everything you think, turns into actions. Sometimes we do stupid things because you feel like it, and then you regret. So what is the mechanism that keeps the mind in good order, and how does the mind go out of order? So we're going to look at that, and how positive thinking affects that. So anyway, thinking is really the most subtle form of action. Action could be a thought, words, or deeds. Now the activity of the mind creates mental pictures. So if you close your eyes, there'll still be a movie going on. All sorts of things go on in the screen of your mind up here. Then you have self-talk. You may be talking to somebody, they don't know about it, you're telling them all kinds of things. Not verbally, just in your mind, right? Or you are thinking about something that's happening, or some situation in your life. You spend a lot of time doing that self-talk. Then your feelings, there may not be any words attached to your feelings. You may feel joy, you may feel fear, you may feel uncomfortable, you may feel anxious, you may feel easy, you may feel peaceful. All the different feelings that you feel, they're in the heart of your soul, which is also your mind. And the different states of being that you may be in at different times. So the mind can be gross and it can be refined. And part of the process of meditation and focused thought is to refine your mind. So a refined mind is very intuitive. Right? That means you can pick things up in your mind and know, yeah, it is like this, or no, I don't think this person's telling me the truth. You just know stuff, you know? You're sensitive to vibrations. Vibrations are created by other people's thoughts, feelings, and attitudes, and you can pick that up. You become aware of unspoken thoughts, you know? Sometimes people, they want to tell you something, but they can't. But you feel, yeah, you want to tell me something. What is it? Come on, tell me. I know you have something. You're also sensitive to people's intentions, whether they're good or not good. You pick it up. And you're also sensible to people's attitudes. You know, if somebody is prejudiced against you, you'll feel it. If they're favorably disposed towards you, you'll feel it as attitude. The thinking includes other things like fantasy. You make it up. Somebody is telling you some big story, it's all fake. Fantasy, not real. Imagination. If you want to create something, it has to start in your imagination. So we would put fantasy as something to do with what's unreal, and imagination is the beginning of what's going to become real. And reactions, responses, impressions, memories and associations. And you start observing how your mind works, why you think of something at a particular time because of associations, and how your mind is very much influenced by what's going on around you. So actually thinking occurs inside the human soul. So the mind is one of the activities of the soul, and it is immediately reflected on the body. Right? Tears of happiness, they're sweet. Tears of misery, they're very salty. It's chemistry. If you feel rage, your face will turn red. Your blood pressure will rise. So whatever is happening in your mind happens immediately in your body. So thoughts of fear and anxiety cause the heart to race and blood pressure to fluctuate. Thoughts of contentment, happiness and peace create a state of relaxation and well-being. Now, if you're going to be a person who practices positive thinking, then there are certain demands that it makes. And one is that you have to create positive thoughts, and you might not be feeling positive. So it's a discipline. I will create positive thoughts, even though I don't feel positive. So you make yourself positive. And it also involves resisting negative thoughts, because there may be things that make you feel negative, but it doesn't mean you have to go along with that. Positive thinking also demands that you accumulate internal power. Now, internal power is something you might not really know what exactly that is. But sometimes when you're in a difficult situation and you say, "Oh God, give me strength," that's internal power. It's a power to handle whatever is coming up. And people are not necessarily powerful, so you need to accumulate that, something that you do through meditation. Determination is willpower. Many people say, would if I could, but I can't. Or the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Things like this. It means the willpower is not very strong. To cultivate and develop your willpower is a very important demand of positive thinking, and it has to be done systematically and consciously. You need to be able to say no when you have to say no. That can be very positive to say no. You need to be able to say yes when it's necessary. No is a complete sentence. There's no and then full stop. You don't have to say why. Not obligated. And if you need to say yes, say yes. That can be very important. But it's difficult. Why is it difficult? Main thing is that most people are spiritually depleted. How do you get spiritually depleted? One of the significant factors is when there's a lot of waste or negative thought going on in your mind in a general way. And this will drain your energy. A lot of people think too much. You know when you think something 6 times, you only have to think it once. But there's this repetition that goes on, especially when it's something that bothers you, or something that you're criticizing, or that you feel antagonistic about. You'll think it many times, and every time you think that, it drains your energy. So your inner power gets lost. People are very much influenced by sense impressions. That means what you see, what you hear, what's coming in from the outside through your eyes, ears, sense of touch, all of this. And then worry and stress do consume people's minds. If you're worrying about something, can you not worry? So thoughts depend on your state of consciousness, and it depends on what you see, what you hear, what you believe, what you fear, and what you want. Of course, what you want is to be number one. What you're afraid of is failure or loss. What you believe depends. When you pay attention to your state of consciousness, that's about meditation, right? Paying attention to what's happening on the inside of you. So when you're paying attention, you're internalized and in self-respect. If you're internalized in self-doubt, you become depressed. But when you're paying attention to your spiritual life, you're internalized in self-respect. Self-respect is a very important part of this process. So your consciousness is more spiritual. The opposite of spiritual would be materialistic. So when you're externalized in your thinking, you're all dealing with material stuff. When you're internalized, you are oriented towards the spiritual side. So when you're paying attention to your consciousness, then you're naturally inspired to create positive thoughts, because you know better than to create negative ones. So the role of meditation in all of this. First, we need to know that meditation is not about stopping the mind, right? Because the mind will be producing thoughts all the time, even when you're asleep. So trying to stop that process is actually very unnatural, and it will create a lot of tension. So meditation doesn't aim to stop the mind, but to turn it away from negative, waste or ordinary and towards pure, positive and meaningful thoughts. That means it's a mental discipline, and you have to produce worthwhile, positive, meaningful thoughts. So in a way, it's work. You may have ordinary thoughts, which are common. I mean, there are necessary things you have to think about. It could be a bit lazy, could be predictable, could be a bit uninspired, but it's not bad. And then the really positive thoughts, they're original. Have you ever thought a thought that you haven't thought before? Doesn't happen very often, does it? You really create something new. And thoughts that are deep, that are creative, that are meaningful, that are transformative. This is the kind of thinking that we want to get to. So it's an art, it's a skill, and you have to develop that within yourself. But we start with at least seeing the difference. And one of the things we do in the practice of positive thinking is to observe on a regular basis. You can try this at the end of your day before you retire. Give yourself, say, 10 or 15 minutes to try to categorize the kinds of thinking and feeling that you have had throughout the day. Now, this section is on principles of positive thinking. They're very good to think about. Because what they do is they help you decide whether your thoughts really are positive, and they definitely remind you of your self-respect. It's easy to forget your self-respect and to lose it. But to stay in your self-respect means that you're not dependent on other people massaging your ego, basically. They are keys to the approaches that you take in what you're doing, and they help you maintain an attitude of self-confidence, which is very important, and they help you to find the benefit in all the situations you encounter. So the first principle and the foundation of positive thinking is to have self-respect, and then to be contented. Contentment means that you are all right with what you have and with who you are, and that you're not in a state of being comparing yourself with other people, and therefore, you see, because when you're discontent, it just produces so much negativity. So the second principle goes further into self-respect. In fact, it means to be assertive. Not aggressive, assertive, and to set boundaries about what's acceptable and what is not. So very, very clear about who you are and what's what. The third principle, your aim is to reach a stage of neutrality. So you don't want to be like positive, bubbly all over the place, but actually neutral. Because if you're neutral, you're dispassionate, you're impartial, you'll be able to make good decisions. So when you're in neutrality, your mind is purely positive because your thoughts are completely free from the opposition or resistance of negativity. So if you have a lot of negativity, you have to make a lot of effort to be positive. But when you're very positive, you don't have to make any effort to be positive. So we call that neutral. Now the fourth principle is really about seeing the negative for what it is. And what you have to do is neutralize its power over you, because if you don't like it, it has power over you. And if you don't identify it clearly, then you're influenced by it. And then you will be acting under the influence of negativity without realizing it. And you can go into a stage which may be more like denial. The fifth principle refers to a refusal to engage in projection. Projection is that there are things within you that you project onto other people, but they're not there on the other people. Like this projector is projecting what I've got here on there, but it's not actually on the screen. It's being put on it by the computer projector. But we do that to each other. We have some preconception about someone, and then we see that person in terms of that preconception. It may not be true at all, it's projection. So we have to be very careful if we're doing that, not to do it, just to see a person or a situation as what it is, very neutrally. So avoiding projection also means you refrain from seeing the world through rose-colored glasses and getting dazzled and impressed, you know. I mean, in the old days, people used to think America was heaven. I don't think they think that anymore, but they used to. That was also projection. So the thing about projection is it distorts your perception and skews your vision of the world. So what we need is to be able to be very clear what's in front of us and not be, swayed by it. Now, principle number 6 is to be free from worrying about others. Do you worry about others? If you're free from worries, because worrying doesn't actually change anything. So if you're free from worry, you just take everything as it happens. Better off. Principle number 7 is attitude of enlightened self-interest. And this is the opposite of selfishness. We don't want to be selfish. But enlightened self-interest is a very, very good thing, because you are doing what is beneficial for yourself in such a way that it's not at other people's expense, but that it actually improves the circumstances for the other people as well. And sometimes people don't do good for themselves because they're afraid of looking like they're selfish. And it also means to come to terms with yourself. You really know what you are and who you are.